So we wanted to talk about three ways people can set boundaries, especially I think with someone you love the most, because that's where it's the hardest.
100%.
And it's difficult, when we are trying to figure that out and we end up putting ourselves on the line and sacrificing our own, well-being. And it's like you teach people how to treat you by what you allow and what you stop and what you reinforce.
Oh, just like that. You're on screen, mama.
Here we go.
Whew. Welcome in,
How's
Shift
everybody
family.
doing?
Welcome
I'm
in,
excited
Shift
to be
family.
here. A lot of you may or may not know I am his mama, but I'm also a certified relationship coach, and I've been doing that work for so many years. So obviously, that conversation always gets brought up between you and I. Like we're always talking about it. We're always talking about relationships because we've done so much healing in our own lives and in our family, just through everything we've been through, that it's inevitable that it just comes up all the time. And we end up being that catalyst for a lot of other people in the stuff we both do, helping people understand relationships better. So we were talking a little bit about what would be a really incredible topic for today. And I think especially coming out of the holidays and it's winter, we're like stuck with people, like boundaries is such a big one. It comes up all the time.
Hey, I want to say this really quick. I always tell everyone on the Shifter fam that I don't really talk about stuff that I'm not educated on or I'm not the expert in. And when it comes to relationships, your boy Shift is not the expert. I've learned through my mishaps, and I'm learning through my own downfalls, which I could probably actually shed a lot of light to. But guys, no BS. My mom is a legitimate relationship coach. This is what she does for a living. Um, and that's why we got Mama Dukes here to help out today, to talk about something, because if it's something that I'm not 100% feeling like I'm the expert on, I'm gonna bring someone who's the expert on this kind of stuff. So
Well,
um,
one of the things I love is when I speak with people, I like to hear people's experience with it because it's not about just, yeah, I'm trained in this. I understand relationship literacy from a science perspective, from a lot of different perspectives, but I also think that how do we apply this in our lives for real? And I think one of the things that so we wanted to talk about three ways people can set boundaries, especially I think with someone you love the most, because that's where it's the hardest.
100%.
And it's difficult, when we are trying to figure that out and we end up putting ourselves on the line and sacrificing our own, well-being. And it's like you teach people how to treat you by what you allow and what you stop and what you reinforce. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what boundaries are about. And I always say like boundaries, not barriers, because a boundary is giving someone a key to your door and saying, I'm going to give you the key. You're going to know how to open it, when to open it. That's perfect. And the second someone, goes against what you initially wanted, you can't stop someone from breaking a boundary, but you can certainly take their key away. So
You're gonna
I
take
think
that
that
damn key right away.
take that key away.
And
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know. I want to, I was thinking, if you're in the chat, like share with us if you feel like you have had issues in your life with boundaries and what category you have issues with. Is it family? Is it relationships? As in, romantic relationships? Is it your work colleagues or in the work you do? What is it in? Is it with your like your direct family, your kids? I always like tell people raising you, I had no boundaries. I like pretty much let you do whatever you wanted to do.
and look at where it led me, though.
You were the first. You were the first child I had, and I thought I needed to spoil you. I thought at the time I was doing my very best, but what I realized was as you got older, I got more strict.
Oh,
Did you
100%.
notice?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But I was also, I was also the I don't want to say the troublemaker, but I was a troublemaker, all right? I was. But
Come
like
on.
I was respectfully a troublemaker. Like,
Yeah, you were never like a bully or, doing things like that. You were just always naughty. And I always tell everybody like God gave me you as a child to prove to me that I wasn't perfect. Because if I would have just had your brother and sister, I would have thought, man, I got this down. I got perfect kids.
hmm.
But you came along and you were like, just kidding.
Well, Sandy said, as a mom, I did the same thing with my kids too. Creature asks, how is Shifter when he is a child? How would you describe me in like two sentences as a child? Like,
Okay. Wow. You were incredibly, okay, first of all, we were very close. People need to know this. Like you and I were very close. And I was a single mom for the beginning, first several years of your life. It was just you and I. And so we were really close. I would say you were really energetic. Like you had more energy to burn than like any human I know. Thank God I found sports for you at a certain age because I was like, you need to run that energy off. You were also, you were gosh, how do I say this? Like very charismatic. I don't know. Do you know, like, what I'm saying? Like everybody liked you. Even as a child, you were like a light. Everyone wanted to be around you, talk to you. When you came in a room, people were like, oh my God, he's so cute. You were like the center of attention. You're very charismatic. You like just, I don't know. That's kind of how you were, but
I
you
think
were
I just really liked to make people laugh, and like that resulted in doing funny things, stupid things, getting in trouble, being the class clown. And so, chat, for those of you guys that are here, first things first, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you guys. What kind of relationships have you guys struggled with? My mom asked this a little bit ago, and I want to see a couple people in chat. Is it family? Is it friends? Is it work relationship? Is it your mom, your dad, family? Just you don't have to go into detail, but just type family, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend. What kind of relationships have you guys found yourself struggling with, and feeling like your boundaries have been broken? Please let us know in chat. Let me know. Let me know so we can dating cam. Mainly with
dating.
my Marmar said mainly with my dad, and in the past friendships at work. It's not difficult for me in love. I've been lucky so far. Jenna said family, aqua drip, friends and family. I think we I was telling you, mom, we've talked about this in the shift family. Relationships, intimate relationships, have always been a struggle, but I think there's a deep burden of it stems from, remember when we talked about dealing with the inner child. I think it
Yeah.
stems a lot from relationships with our parents, and we talked about trauma bonding, and how you might tend to find a man that's like your father. That shows, because that's what feels like home for you. That's what you're used
Yeah,
to.
we'll always be drawn to a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. You heard that phrase because we're just so used to it. We know what to expect. We don't like the unexpected. And I think it's interesting, like people are saying a lot of family, and it's true because we love our family, but I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Brene Brown, but I love her. She's amazing. She's a human scientist. She like studies relationships and people. And she says one of her my favorite quotes that she has is she always says, daring to set boundaries is having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others.
Oh, damn. Say that again.
So, daring to set boundaries is having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others.
Damn.
And you talk so much about self-love, and I can tell you, as someone who's worked with thousands of people and their relationships, couples who have the happiest relationships have strong boundaries. And boundaries are really important to like lay out your expectations. It's like otherwise you're kind of almost expecting the other person to be a mind reader. So like I wanted to share like something if you're listening to this today and you're in here, I wanted to share something you could actually take away. Like how do we set boundaries with people? How do we do that?
I'm
Because it's
listening.
not a yeah. The first thing is we actually have to express it. I know that seems so simple. You're like, oh, duh, but people don't. They automatically assume like, well, they see that I got upset. They see that that bothered me. They should know. No, 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 no. You need to express how you feel. You need to be very clear with it. Like you gotta have this ability to be very, very explicit, not implicit. Like you could just act annoyed, or you could be like, you know what? I feel really annoyed right now because this happened and this is how I'm feeling. So you gotta express it. And even if you say it in a nice way, and like I always because especially if it's someone we love, you don't have to come at them use the sandwich effect, like, hey. First of all, I really appreciate that you brought over I don't know, some food for dinner tonight. It meant so much that you thought about me, but you also know that my roommate, doesn't really like people coming here unannounced and he gets really upset with me. So next time, could you just give me a call ahead of time? I can't have that happening anymore. I'm just giving you an example. You can sandwich it
The
with like
good
a
old
positive,
sandwich effect.
positive, the good old sandwich effect,
Good
but you
old.
got to express it clearly.
I think that's something
So,
that I personally have struggled with. Not the sandwich effect, but you brought up the fact of just simply voicing what your boundaries are. And I
yeah,
think what I've found myself doing is if someone if I've gotten when I've gotten hurt in the past, it's been like I'm so sad. Like, why did you do this? Like, what are we gonna do to fix it? But never. I think about it, and never once was I like, it is not okay to do this in my eyes. This is not okay.
I think I've seen you get more like that in the last year or two,
Oh yeah.
but you were never like that before. Like I've seen you now be very explicit and literally say to people, that is not okay. You cannot do that. Period. Like there is no, and I think the idea that we think is when we set a boundary, we're telling someone what they can and can't do. You're not in control of anyone else. You're telling someone, this is another mind shift for you. Literally, your boundary is about what you're going to do if they do that thing, not about what they can and cannot do. It's about you can do whatever you want to do, but if you do that thing, this is what I'm going to have to do. So you have to be prepared when you set a boundary to actually set that limit, Like don't set an unrealistic one like I'm never going to talk to you again. When you know you're going to talk to them.
Yeah, and I
It could be
think
something small.
as someone that has struggled with abandonment issues and just a lack of self love, um, I've found myself. And we talked about this. I have found myself when I've been I have this fear that if they leave me, I'm not gonna find someone. I'm not gonna be as involved, as committed as like this is the person. This is the friend. This is the girlfriend. This is like, and so I would constantly jeopardize my worth and my self love. Like I was the type of individual where like if I get lied to or cheated on, like what do I need to do so that you don't lie or cheat on me anymore?
Well, I like
And
what Candace said in the chat. When I start dating, they ask what I'm looking for in someone. The first thing I say is transparency and open communication. This is beautiful, but you got to go even deeper. I love that you said transparency because a lot of people will say, I have to be with someone who's honest. But honesty and transparency, two different things. Oh, you went to dinner with your coworkers the other night? Yeah, I did. That's honest. Transparency is, yeah, I went to dinner with my coworkers, but also, three of them were female. You know,
that
So,
is something that I have struggled with, where it's kind of like the half truth, where like it's like
yeah,
how is your how,
it's not a lie.
exactly, I didn't lie to you, I just didn't tell you the full truth. And wow, so thank you for actually calling that out, because I that's something that I have struggled with.
So that's a really, really good one. So transparency is like huge because a lot of people, some people don't want to know, but some people do. Marmar says, when I started learning to set boundaries, I became very strict. It was black or white for me. Over time, I learned to be more flexible as it always depends on the context. Very true. When you learn something new, you're often clumsy at first, but learning something like this together is truly beautiful. Yeah, this is wow. It's so true. So, so true. Um, I think, one of the things that you can do, just this is something else about when you're asking, when you're setting boundaries is, and especially with someone you really love and you really care about. We talked about that sandwich effect, but here is another tip I want to give everybody. When you're going to them, instead of coming at them strong, ask them for permission. Say, can I just speak from my heart for a minute? Can I be really vulnerable with you? Can I have permission to speak honestly? And just wait for them because there's something psychology wise when someone says, "Yeah, go ahead." They feel like you've given them a voice even just by asking for that permission. Because then you can say what you need to say, but ask them, say, can I have this? Can I ask you for some permission to just speak with you really open? It's going to really truly help that whole process of setting the boundary. It's going
I
to be
mean,
huge.
like, who here in chat is afraid to voice your opinion or your feelings because of the repercussions of I'm afraid to talk about how I feel because every time I do, you get upset. Every time I do, a fight happens. I want to go back really quick because Creaturology had something really good. Creaturology said, I have a question about relationships. He's been really going hard in bodybuilding. He had a girlfriend. She's into me, and then slowly she gets bored and moved with another. And I will say this is like, when it comes to whether I think it's bodybuilding, it doesn't matter. I think when you start to work on yourself and when you start to level up and do things, you become a different individual. We all know. I mean, Mom, you know the struggles I have gone through of becoming shifter. Um, uh, it,
Yeah, 100%. Like, so, well, Creaturology asked what was my reaction when you became a content creator and when he and his content creator and YouTube and you started all this stuff. And I think at first it was really interesting because we actually talked a lot about boundaries because I said, you're going to be exposed to a lot of people and a lot of people don't always wish well for you. And you said, I understand that. And then for many people who are following you today, they probably know, I mean, you didn't show your face for like how long? The first year?
it was almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years? You never even showed your face. And I know at first you were thinking, this is the boundary I'm setting. I want to create a platform that isn't focused on my looks, isn't focused on what I look like. And I think for so many years of your life, I know I'm speaking for you, but this is just my
No, please do.
perception as your mom. You've kind of, and I'm sorry, I not to this be insulting, but you kind of drifted through a lot of life on your looks. Like I always used to say, you could walk into somewhere and get something for free. I'm not even joking. Like I've seen it happen many times. And I think a lot of people, judged you positively and negatively based on how your appearance was. And for you, it was really liberating to put the mask on because it was almost like people were focused on what you had to say, how you were showing up, the way you were creating something, your creativity, and not how you looked. And it was a big deal for you to go transition to taking the mask off because you were realizing that you were at a limit now. You were like, the mask is now integrated. I'm ready to just be me. And it almost allowed you to be that authentic self. But I think my worry was that, and still is my worry, because as you get bigger, mashallah, I really do get concerned, about, the exposure and people out there, because not, like I said, not everybody's good out there. So I guess, what is a boundary that you're going to set for yourself as you continue and grow in this? Like, do you have boundaries?
As I've grown on this journey, the I think I have a boundary with myself. I think not with others so much. It's a boundary within myself of um, knowing when my mental energy is being exhausted. It doesn't have much to
Mm,
do. It doesn't have much to do with like the looks, because I have developed this mindset to where like I know that it's I say this humbly, but like I know I'm a decent looking individual. I'm a beautiful human. We're all beautiful. We're all beautiful. And I know that I that I radiate, and it's embracing that, but I think because of the fact of me not showing my face for so long and creating relationships within the Shifter fam, it allowed me to get my message across without people having the wrong intentions. And I have seen it. I have seen it where since I've shown my face, like the extra comments and the messages, and it feels good actually, because of the fact that I have boundaries set for myself, knowing that the old me would play into that, Oh, someone messaged me, told me how handsome I was. Like I would be like, oh, like is this an opportunity for me? So I have these boundaries of just respecting myself so much to the point, and it's also knowing, it's always knowing that I'm not ready for relationships. I'm not ready to navigate that bridge, and I'm on this journey of healing. And so, regardless of what anyone says to me, no matter how gorgeous they are, no matter how what things they could offer me, I just know within myself that I have this boundary that I'm relationships, intimate relationships are just cut off for me right now. So I think it's
So
more.
that's a very strong boundary that you have. So that energy is very it's there to protect you. It's less about others and
Okay,
it's more
McCam.
about you.
Okay,
He's
McCam, it's
talking about
funny.
me.
Marmar said it still scares me every time, but it scares me even more not to do it, and I fall back into old patterns. I used to be so scared to open my mouth and speak my mind. I think the Marmar talked about old patterns, and this kind of relates. I struggle with this a lot. Is just every time you have a voice or you voice your opinion, um, dealing with the emotional abuse that comes from it, whether it's from your mom, whether it's from your dad or your relationship. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like, just being
Yeah.
afraid to speak up. Um,
I think it's really that's really going to happen. So you have to ask yourself because we're never in control of other people. We're only in control of our own self. And depending in the situation you're in, you have to ask yourself, how much space can I create? And sometimes it's not just physical space from this person. It might be, like you were saying, mental space. I'm not going to involve them in all my conversations anymore. I'm not going to go to them every time I have an issue or a problem. I'm not going to, whatever it's going to be, it could be a lot of those things. It could be in so many different ways you start to create that space to protect yourself. And so, yeah, because that's going to happen. I mean, because one of the things that we fail, the second thing I want to say is when you're setting boundaries after you've communicated clearly, is you got to follow through consistently. We're all going to mess up, like Marmar even said, like we fall back. And so once you set a boundary, you have to stick to it. And if you don't stick to it, you're teaching people that your boundaries mean nothing. Nothing. So the next time you set a boundary, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to care. They're not going to respect it. And so people are always going to slip up. So this is when you reinforce it. It's when you come in and you remind them politely the first time. Or, you don't you want to prevent confusion, especially with your kids, your loved ones, family. You gotta, you gotta like show them the limits. And this is where you have to sit. So you have to do that consistently. Someone says, I've always been able to communicate my boundaries. Enforcing them was a lot harder for me. So if you have always been good at communicating them, but not enforcing them, it means that you are not setting a boundary that's realistic for you. Go back to the drawing
my
board,
mom over
create a
here firing shots. Shout out to Jess, by the way. I think I think that I struggle with that so much. Like I would. You talked about this earlier. How I was like I'm done with you. Like you do this again, I'm done. They
never
do it.
talking to you again. Yeah.
They do it again. You you do this one more time. I swear this is the time you do it. Like I'm gonna be done. And then like I always found myself just like you said, like I would teach people how to treat me just by not being truthful. Not It's not about being truthful, but not setting those boundaries with myself. And like I think you said like it's not being realistic. Like I would say things that were like what if there was a realistic boundary? What if you just ask someone like, hey, like cheating on me is not okay. Do not cheat on me, or else I'm done with you.
Well, then you got to ask yourself, you got to have a real talk with yourself. If my partner cheats on me, am I actually ready to walk out the door? And and this is just for yourself, no one needs to know this answer except you. If your answer is maybe, that's not a boundary. Maybe is not a boundary. Actually, my husband and I, we before we got married, we actually talked about this because we both had dealt with infidelity, been cheated on. And we said in the beginning of our relationship before we got married that strong boundary. If you cheat or if I cheat, if either of us cheat, we're done. there is it's like zero tolerance policy, and I mean it. Like I mean it. No matter how much I love him, no matter how good of a person he is, if that happens, I'm on a plane back to America. So, this is a strong boundary I had to really ask myself and set. And there's some people, I work with a lot of couples who are dealing with infidelity, and they were like, "Oh, he shouldn't cheat on me," but you won't leave. So it's not really an enforceable boundary, unfortunately. So that's the hard part. So going back to what Jess was saying here is really true, is you got to ask yourself, what's a realistic boundary that for no matter what, you're going to be able to consistently hold tight. Because remember, boundaries are not about controlling other people. It's about controlling yourself and telling them what you're going to do or not do if they do that thing. So it's about you. That's a
Mm.
huge one. I'm just reading some of the comments here. I have a nice one about boundaries. I'm not ready for a relationship. And I was talking to this girl and it went all great. I told her clearly I'm not ready for a relationship. I want to have fun, etc. I went out one time and well, we had one night stand, but she knew I didn't want anything else. And then that became that, and then at a friendship, and she was the one calling. It was a one night stand. She said that I used to use her, which I didn't. So I told her that she knew where I stood and it's not my responsibility and how she feels right now. She's now mad at me, but I don't feel sorry for her because I set a boundary and was clear on which she agreed. Okay, so one of two things here. Either you were really, like I was saying, you have to explicitly say it. Because sometimes I'm not saying you didn't do this. I'm not saying this didn't happen. But you may have been like, hey, I really like you, but I'm not looking things super serious right now. But man, you're amazing. Versus, let's go out. I am literally not going to have a relationship with anyone right now. I am not going to commit. So if you choose to hang out with me, you choose to spend time with me, just know that. I want to be really clear. You know what I'm saying? There's like a very being really clear with somebody sets them up for success, which is
100%. Pyromaniac says something really good. Boundaries for me have always been easy in theory, and I'm able to communicate them. In the moment, though, this is what I have struggled with so much. In the moment, though, my people pleaser comes out the second they cross the boundary. That's me, and kind of just referring back to like what Jess said. Like, there's this part of me like enforcing them. Like, like with me enforcing my boundaries in my past have been null. Like, I have been, uh, I have allowed people to walk all over me.
Yeah,
And,
you've been a people pleaser your whole life.
and so thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, Paro. I hope you're having a good
Yeah,
day.
that's really no, it's really vulnerable share actually. And I think being a people pleaser, and people aren't gonna like me saying this,
It's
it's gonna
okay.
it's
You
gonna
got to
hurt.
be the one to
It's gonna
stand
hurt.
out, mama.
It's gonna hurt. Because I was a people pleaser for many, many years too. Is more about your ego than about other people. It's because
Oh, damn. Hold up. She
uh,
said, hold on. I just need to pause. Because, guys, I'm a people pleaser. Y'all see me. Y'all see how generous and I want to help everyone. Being a people pleaser is more about your ego. That's what you just said.
yeah, it is because what happens is when you are going out into the world and you are doing everything to make sure everyone else is happy,
You don't need to
you're
come
doing
at me
it,
so hard.
you're doing it so that people like you, that you're accepted.
True. I
And it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing because we don't want people to not like us, and this is natural as humans. We want people to like us. We want to be accepted by the tribe, right? We don't want anyone to think we're bad people. But when you are a serial people pleaser, you're always worried about what everyone thinks about you, what everyone's gonna and here's the thing, the like I said this earlier, and if you didn't hear me, the healthiest relationships I've seen are people who are very assertive. They're not dominating, they're assertive. They know how to express what they need in a polite, kind, loving way. And two, they don't people please. And so they're able to give and receive. It's like your infinity symbol. People pleasing is just, giving. And I think in the beginning for you, I remember you speaking with Taff, my husband, and he gave you that concept. He's like, it's time for you to start receiving because you were always giving. And sometimes we think, oh, receiving from other people is actually the egotistical thing. No, it's not. It's not, because if we're always giving because we want people to like us, let's give them an opportunity to do something good for in their lives. Let's let them give. People want that. They want to give, so we have to keep that infinity going. We got to give and we got to receive. So it's really difficult. It's a hard concept to understand, but as soon as I got that, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to be egotistical. I don't want to be always worried about me, 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 me. And to be honest, everyone's always worried about themselves. Like, you stop worrying so much about what people think about you. Because trust me, when people go to bed at night, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about
I'm
themselves.
thinking about you when I go to bed. Well, I want to, it's, I say this too, is we talk about the infinity symbol. And those of you guys that are part of the OG family, the infinity symbol stemmed from a conversation that I had with your husband, Taff, the real mindset shifter, my coach, my mentor. And it was I was doing all these things, these motivational messages, the short films, pouring my heart out into what I do, and then people would be like, "Where can I like donate to help you? Where can I buy? Do you have merch?" And I was like, "No, like I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to receive any like donations. Like I'm doing this authentically." And then I'll be good. Fate will take care of me. But then with the infinity symbol, like I said, like when you close off that infinity symbol, like there's people that really want to help you. There's people that do want to be there for you. And when you block that off, if you're giving back to people and you're blocking off that infinity symbol, it's going to lead to some type of negative energy. And I want to say this too, is that I have over time, especially since because of where I come from, being walked all over all the time in my in my relationships, and being the people pleaser. I am now very selfish. We talked about this. I said that for me, like going into relationships, whether it's you're a business partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, it doesn't matter. Is like it needs to change your mentality, but then it needs to change your reality. And like, what are you giving me? What are you giving me to change my reality? What are you giving back to me? Because if I can list things that I'm doing for you, I should be able to list a couple things that you're doing for me. And it's not just like you're just there for me. Like I can call you anytime. Like you need to be doing something that's helping my reality. You need to be doing something that is giving me my life value on a day-to-day basis. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for me to entertain and for me to just stay engaged.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really true. 100%.
Cam
I
says
think,
sometimes you just got to say no.
yeah, sometimes you got to say no with love and confidence. And the first time you set a boundary with someone that you haven't done so is gonna hurt. Because if you got that people pleaser in you, you're gonna the fear inside you, like Jess came back and said, my therapist broke my heart when she told me the exact same thing. You think you're being selfless, but it's actually a selfish act. And when you think of it that way, it does shift your mindset. You're like, setting a boundary is literally giving someone a roadmap on how to love you. You're saying, man,
Damn.
I care about you so much. I want to show you where you have to stay in the lines with me so that we can connect. Because you color outside the lines, I'm no longer connecting with you. It doesn't work for me. Whether it triggers me, it hurts me, whatever, it goes against my values, my needs, whatever it is. You're literally giving, you care so much about somebody, you're giving them a roadmap. And if you can think of it that way, it's going to transform the way you have relationships. It's so powerful, 100%.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree wholeheartedly.
One of the things is like when you start to decide like what kind of boundaries you want to set with somebody or with people in your life, because if we don't have it, here's some steps. You got to sit down and make a list of these things. Identify what triggers you. Like what triggers you. This is going to be it's it's like situations, behaviors, things that just they get you, right? And sometimes these things may be more about you working on yourself. But in the meanwhile, if you're in a relationship with someone, you say, hey, I'm working on this, but while I work on it, this gets me. So like, has anyone ever been like for you even being in a relationship? Like even now, do you feel triggered by certain statements or feelings that come up?
Oh, 1000%. Like
Even
that's
if it's not the same person.
yeah, and that's how I know that I'm not ready is because like if someone says like even it's just like if I don't get a response back from someone and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I went to bed." I'm like, "You went to bed? For
So
real?"
being ignored is a trigger for you?
Not being I mean like it's not being ignored, but I think it's just like sensing and
Dishonesty?
sensing dishonesty. I have trust issues. I have really bad trust
Okay.
issues. I think I think from just being cheated on and just going through that, it's been I have trust issues, and it's hard for me to
So,
trust what people say.
so that's a huge trigger for you. So one of the things that I can tell you will be a massive healing for you to get you into a place where you are ready for a relationship one day is to learn to fully trust yourself that if someone breaks your trust, you're going to put that boundary up and say, nope, I'm out. Like people ask me all the time, like, how do you learn to trust after you got your heart broken or someone's cheated on you or broken you? You don't learn to trust people again. You learn how to set boundaries because to be honest, you choose someone the best of your ability. But the fact is, we can never guarantee 100% the person we're with is never going to break our trust. But I can tell you, based on the level of confidence I've built in myself and who I am and the work I've done, if my husband were to break my trust, I'm out. Not even a question. Will it hurt? Absolutely, it's going to hurt. But I'm not going to. So the hard part comes when you can't trust yourself to hold that boundary. This day comes that you feel so confident that, you know what? Whoever I let in my life, if they break that trust for me, it's going to be I'm going to be okay to walk away. I'm okay with them and I'm okay without them is the day you're ready for a relationship again.
I think
It's huge.
that's been my biggest thing for me is just and I actually have been able to there's been a couple instances not with like intimate partners
The
or like
friendships and such.
but friendships, yeah. I've dealt with friendships on this journey as shifter where if trust is broken, I've been able to just
Cut
and
people off.
and but it's like I told like I was saying earlier, like when I love hard, when
Yeah,
I'm a
you do.
very emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I go all in. And there's this aspect to where when I'm all in, what does that look like? It's different from a friend. It's different from a business. Like a, it's just a. So I think you had a really good point of just I think it's not putting my trust. Here's what it is: it's not putting my trust into other people, but it's putting the trust into myself that I have the power to walk away, that I will walk away once it's crossed. That line is crossed for me. So
And when someone,
that's it right there, guys. It's not about trusting other people so much per se. I think it's I'm having a breakthrough moment right now. I think it's really just trusting that you will stand up for yourself.
and there's nothing more attractive about being with a person who trusts themselves. You talked a lot about, when you and I did that interview, people can always go back in the stream and watch, back on there. We talked a lot about like if and when you are ready to like find a Mrs. Shift someday.
Mrs. Shift,
Mrs. Shift, she's in the universe. She's
mom,
there somewhere.
mama
You
Shift.
you talked about somebody who was confident in who they were as a person and that she would be very and it's not that everyone's always going to be 100%, like we're always on a journey to self-improve, right, and
Mm-hmm.
heal, because everyone's got trauma, everyone comes from a background or like there's some pain in their life and existence, but it's about how much work have they done, how much willingness are they to keep doing. And you talked about like being with somebody who doesn't need to have you be the reason that they're here, like they're happy as their own person. And I think that is a very attractive feature. And I know a lot of women, it's we do look for men who have that as well, like a silent confidence. It's very positive. It's not egotistical at all. It's like it's very, very attractive. It's very attractive.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely true. Definitely 100% true. Nesco said, when you are truly at peace with your own company, then you are truly ready to stand fast on boundaries because you know you'll be okay no matter the outcome. And that's Nesco. Thank you for saying that. Because you would remember, like, just I have been. I mean, like, bless the Lord, I've got Mama Peggy, right? But like this last year, it's been a little over a year now. I have been like this has been it. I've been alone, and
Yeah,
this is the longest I've been alone in how long? 20 years.
most of your life.
My whole life, y'all. I'm telling you.
You
I
had a girlfriend at like 5, let's be honest.
don't say that.
No.
I'm
Well,
just kidding.
one of the things I'm actually really excited because a lot of people don't know, I live in England and I come back to America to visit you every year and I spend time with you and Rose and now and um I I'm really excited this summer to come and be with you because you are single and I've seen you come out of your shell in a way that is so beautiful and to be with somebody who isn't feeling that level of sadness or like preoccupation with something unhealthy in their life, like you've been very distant for many years. And so I think like it's been great you're a different person, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, who here in chat, and I want you guys to please remember this is a safe zone. Who here in chat has felt themselves being distant from family and old things because of a relationship? Um, you used to talk about the all of the family events that we would have where I would either not be there, or if I was there, how checked out I was.
Very checked out.
100%.
It's huge. It's huge.
Who here in chat has felt themselves um, fading away from the things that they loved and the things that they did because of a friendship or a relationship? Let me know, please. You don't have to be specific, but is there anyone in here that could relate with me? Is there anyone else that's been through that before?
Yeah, I've seen people lose friendships, their social connections, even family connections. I've seen people
Kick
do.
in. By the way, Kick in, thank you so much for being here. You've always just popped up. You've always just been here, and I really appreciate you. And I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Kick in.
Um, I swear I'm going to cry when Shift announces there's a Mrs. Shift because I think Shift deserves a loving girlfriend, one that truly cares about him and loves him the way he deserves. Amen. I think it's going to be a while, but I think you are on this journey. I think you're like really married to the process of helping others heal, and you're kind of doing that with them. And I see you really, really like committed to that. You're a very committed person, like you said. When you're in, you're all in. You're not like dip my toes in. Like when you say you're going to do something, it's like you're doing it. And that's why I've been really proud of you this last year or so, even longer, being just completely single, just like I am single, period, and holding your
I'm
ground
gonna
there.
change my name from I am Shifter to I am single. I am single.
I am single. What are some things that people have done or said to you that has made you feel uncomfortable or violated your sense of boundaries or personal space as being shifter? I know it's a hard question. I don't want to like make anyone upset, but
No.
you're pretty open. You're a pretty open guy. Like you are open, like you said, you create safe spaces, you really help people you are probably one of the least judgmental people I've ever met. Um,
Well, I can already think of it. We talked about this earlier, um, about like it has nothing to do when people call me attractive or handsome or shifts fly, because I know in my heart, like I said, like we talked about this, I trust myself I'm not ready to open up that door for relationships and to be committed. So like I can welcome that energy in, and like I genuinely just appreciate compliments and stuff. I have a very strict boundary though that I have, like, and it comes to the shifter movement. It comes to what I'm doing. So when I have, there's boundaries of where, if you are not helping me grow, if you are not helping me shift the world, it doesn't mean that you have to go out here and do all these things. But if you're doing anything that takes me off of my straight path, I'm good. I'm good. I'm so good. I love you. I care about you. I'm good. Like, so I think these boundaries are as if if someone were to somehow and here's what I've realized too, this not like a one thing someone could say that steers me off the path, but it could be maybe leading me to believe that they're um, here to help, or that they're here to or when I say, I think a big thing for me too is when everyone that's involved with me, everybody that has helped the shifter movement, they know that I have conversations with them and I say, if you're not growing, like, this is not for you. I want the people to grow that's with me. And so when I see people, I think self-sabotaging, that's been a trigger for me, and that's been a boundary for me, because I don't want to, I this analogy of holding on to this tight rope, and I have people and family on this tight rope that I'm holding on to. And the more you're being a weight on this rope, and I'm referring to my inner circle, like the people that are like the closest to me, the people that I talk to the most, that help
Well,
me.
I would say even in your community, I've noticed that you set that boundary. If someone comes in and it spreads that kind of negative energy, not, they're not welcome. Well, you talked about family, and obviously I'm your family, but a lot of people everyone who's watching this knows, that you have two amazing daughters, my beautiful granddaughters. How do you plan on keeping boundaries in place and protecting them as you grow in this journey? Because now, like, your reach and exposure has just reached astronomical, amazing levels. You've got millions of viewers on different platforms altogether. So, what is some of the boundaries that you have? And obviously, as Rose comes into her preteen years, and what are some of the boundaries you've set with her and with your community when it comes to the kids, the girls?
Mm. Well, to be quite fair, I haven't expressed any boundaries when it comes to the community and the girls, because I haven't found those being really. I haven't found a moment where it's been inappropriate. But what I'll say is that I have a lot of conversations with Rose frequently, actually, to the point where we have safe words, we have safe phrases, so
Yeah.
that way if she's ever in a situation to where it's a and she knows when and when not to use these phrases and these safe words, and we change them too every couple months. We'll change these safe words, these safe phrases, so that way if she calls me or texts me and she says one of these phrases, I know, don't ask any questions, I'm on my way, coming through.
Yeah.
um
I
I've
think a
all
lot of people don't. I'm sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
I've also sorry. I have to make sure my camera. I've also talked to the schools. With me being very well connected in her school, they are very aware of what I do, and the mass reach that I have, and they know that Rose should never leave with anyone besides mom, grandma, or me. Like, there's no one else that would ever be there to pick her up. And so that's where we're at right now. But I think as this journey grows, and I do try to limit the amount of times I show her face on camera, and
Yeah.
like, it's a there are we've done streams where you can see her face, and like, that we've done things that that do jeopardize our safety, wholeheartedly.
I think one of the things that's really good for people to know about you and how you work with your daughter is that she always she always has a choice. And you've told her that anytime she doesn't want to do something, she doesn't want to go on a ride, even on the bike, she doesn't want to get on the motorcycle, that's okay. There's no pressure. There's no like forcing her. There's no coercion, it's really important. And there has been times where she's been like, "No, I'm not feeling it."
Mhm.
And you're like, "Okay." Okay.
There has been a couple times where she's not feeling it. But
Yeah.
I'll say it's majority of the time, 99% of the time. Like it's when she ever comes to a live stream, it's because she's asking me to do a live stream.
Yeah.
I would be going live on the weekends when I have my girls, but I don't, to respect that. But you know, whenever I do go live with Rose, it's because it's only when she asks me. I want to play. Let's game. Let's go live. Let's you know. And truth behold, you know, we talked about the in our last interview. You said like, what's my biggest fear with the girls, and my biggest fear was that I would not be a safe zone for them. And I remind her. I think another thing that I do to help protect Rose, I remind every single night. I remind her um, that I am a safe zone for her. Call me anytime you need me. Always be open with me. And like, you know, like there's been times where she gives me feedback. And you know, recently, I've been you know, with me and the music and everything, and I have a song coming out and she hates it. She does not like this song, and normally she loves, like, she's like my biggest Emmy and Rose are my biggest fans when it comes to music. 100%
They really are.
hands down, without even without even question. And she find for the first time she's like, "Dad, I don't like this song at all." I was like, "Well, what don't you like about it?" The beat, the lyrics. Like normally it's just like, oh, your voice is too loud, or like there's a little critique, but she's like, no, scratch the whole thing. And I looked, and it was kind of like it hurt my feelings a little bit. And I looked at her and I said, "Thank you for being honest with me. I really respect that, but I'm still gonna drop this song." That's what I told her. I was like, I'm doing this for me." And
It's really
so
beautiful that you're actually, I've noticed that she's really like listened and really absorbed that quality of you, because there are other people in her life that are not like that. And so, you know, I think your authenticity and willingness to be listen to feedback and say thank you, but I'm still going to do me is very difficult. And that's that people pleaser in you dying. I love it. And it actually teaches her that not everyone's going to agree with you. And it's still okay to do something if not everyone else likes it. It's okay. It's okay. Like you're gonna be okay.
100%.
He's gonna be okay. They're gonna be okay. And I think that there's such a beautiful thing. I've noticed that in her really, like I've seen her like really absorbing that as this journey in the last, especially the last year and a half. It's been huge. That's gonna be a huge quality for her to take on as she goes into the teen years, because those are the hardest years where we're like
Mm-hmm.
so worried about everybody liking us and being popular and trying to fit into like a group. It's going to be really difficult for her if she's always people pleasing, you know?
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's huge. That's huge.
And that's the thing is like, I have noticed that she is a people pleaser. We've talked about this, you know, even with Valentine. We need to get Valentine. We need to do a mom, brother, sister stream. I think
I would love that.
that would be there's a lot we could talk about.
Oh
But
my
you know,
God.
you look at Valentine and being a people pleaser in the aspect of wearing that mask of being a perfectionist and being like literally like the perfect student, has all these skills, all doing all these things, like the goody two shoe. Like that's how she was growing up, you know. And I think that's why
Yeah.
she is the way she is now, because she's like, that's not.
She's rebelling now. She's finally like
Yeah.
said no.
She's like, I'm good. And so I've noticed that with Rose, you know, going through the adversities, dealing with just dealing with her adversities, she has put on this mask of perfect grades, helps with Emmy so much without even asking. She's
Never
almost
gets in
like
trouble.
never gets in trouble at school. I'm telling you, and I'm not gonna say what grade she's in. She's never been in trouble at school.
No,
Never.
she's like the teacher's favorite. She's an amazing student.
Nesco, thank you, by the way. She said I speak for the whole fam, but as the people who come through on here to see the girls as family, whereas on Instagram and YouTube you hardly show Rose's face. So I think you've got the balance right. Yeah, and you know, Rose, like, I'm telling you, Rose loves the content that we do. Rose loves just being Rose. She gets into character, you know.
No, I think that that is really, really beautiful. I mean, honestly, like I think I see that in her growing, and I hope it just keeps going and going and going. So that'll be really good. One of the things you mentioned something, and I think one of the things that we also like have to reflect on before we set boundaries with people is what are our values? And what, because a lot of the times we talked about triggers, right? So triggers are one of the things that help us establish our boundaries. Like you said, dishonesty. That's a trigger for you. It's like when someone's lying or lack of transparency is a trigger.
I think it's even like, even if they are telling the truth, I think to myself like, are they lying? like, is this person lying to me? And I find myself reassuring people, and you guys, those of you guys that I talk to, behind the scenes, like I find myself reassuring people, like, please just be always honest and real with me. Like, tell me the worst of the worst, and I'll accept it. Like, like if you're busy because you, or if you just don't want to talk, or if you don't have the mental energy to talk, like, don't just like ignore me, like ignore and not respond, and then just text me 2 days later say sorry I fell asleep. Like, just just say it, like, just tell me like, hey, I don't have the mental energy to talk right now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really feel like conversing with you right now. But even like, just so I find myself, like I said, with the trust issues, it's hard.
Well, so one of the other areas, like I was saying, to think about when you're setting boundaries is like, what are your values? Like, think about your personal goals and your priorities and the things you value most. That's going to create boundaries. So, for example, I'll just use an example. I don't drink alcohol.
Me neither.
I'm a Muslim. I don't drink alcohol. And one of my boundaries is I don't really hang out in situations where alcohol is going to be there. I just don't. And it has to do with one of my values, like one of my most top integral values. It doesn't mean I think you're bad if you drink alcohol. I have friends who drink alcohol. I have friends who, that's fine. Do it in your own time, do it in your own space or place. I don't think you're evil by any means. It's nothing to do with you. It has to do with me. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel okay with it. It just doesn't work for me. So that's based on one of my values. I also I don't really like one of the things my one of my values is I am very, very protective of my marriage, like extremely. And my husband and I were coaches together. Like we coach couples. So, and he's big on social media too. And he's got a lot of people and in the community who looks up to him. One of my boundaries is like we don't have friends of the opposite gender, like close friendships.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have females that are his close friend, and I don't have males that are my close friend. Do I have people I talk to in the community? Absolutely. I have people I talk with and like have that camaraderie, but there's not friendship. So I think there's someone said, I always think I always wonder if there's an ulterior motive. I've noticed I'm very skeptical of a person due to the past, and it's my own self-preservation, sabotaging, coping mechanism.
That's a big one. Sugar dropping a bomb on us. Sugar Monster, thank you for that
Yeah.
one, because I kind of I've struggled with that too. Um, with the trust, like I said, like, why are you, like, if someone is lying to me or cheating on me or betraying me, like, why do you still want to be my friend? Why are you begging for forgiveness? Why are you asking for forgiveness? Like, what are your, like, what's in it for you? And I think that's a really
Yeah.
really big one. Thank you, Sugar, for sharing that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that. And I think it's a little bit of both because we have to balance facts with feelings.
Ooh, we should talk about that really quick. Facts versus feelings.
They're both important. We can't eliminate either of them. When we talk about, like, let's talk about relationships. I'll use it in the context of relationship. If you feel that someone's doing something bad to you, but you don't have any facts, you gotta dig into your feelings and get curious and ask more questions. But you can't accuse anybody because you don't have any facts. But if you have a fact about something, you may not be hearing the story behind it and the feelings or what happened. So you got to keep both of them in place. But one of the things we end up acting a lot on our feelings and not facts.
I
I
think,
see this in
yeah, like,
relationships all the time.
like, you barely do. You're never there for me, and then I'll think to myself like, I
Is that a
was,
fact?
like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been here so many times over the course of the last X amount of time. But then they feel rejected in a certain moment, and then it's like, you're not here for me. And
Yeah. Yeah, I had a client several months ago who was complaining that her husband never bought her anything. And because like receiving gifts was her top love language. And he comes into the session, the counseling session, and he goes, I just literally built the most beautiful new house for you and refit it with all your favorite furniture. And she goes, but that's not what I wanted. You never buy anything from me. And it's like, you know, fact versus feeling. So,
Yeah, that's a big one. I think we let our feelings become facts. We let our feelings become the facts. Mom, I need to just grab a drink really quick.
okay, grab a drink. I'm gonna read the chat
Talk
here.
to chat real quick. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Okay, Shift, can you play the real? Okay, let's just see. I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I always have to wonder. Yeah, that's actually probably one of your best superpowers and one of your greatest downfalls. When you wear your heart on your sleeve, it's like everything comes out of you. There's no filter. So it's almost about like you being able to take that few moments to reflect before, you know, instead of reacting, responding is a big difference. React versus respond. So if you can take just a few moments to like think introspectively, because I'm similar. A lot of people are where they just wear their heart on their sleeve and they just come out and say it. It's very difficult. Okay, I'll leave that for people to look at themselves. Okay. To add to that, trust your intuition. Yes. So sometimes our feelings are leading us down the right road. And we can't ignore feelings. We can't just look at facts and ignore feelings, because those are really, really important. 100%. I literally have no filter. So yeah, when you struggle with the filter, what happens is you, like I said, you're reacting, you're not responding. And you want to hold your power. You want to be able to cultivate all those beautiful feelings and those thoughts. So whenever you're in a situation where you are literally about to explode with emotion, just give yourself like 3 minutes. Promise yourself you're just going to walk into the room 3 minutes, even write it down, make a voice note, just say, get it out, and then introspect for just a few minutes and come back. We're just talking about the difference between reacting and responding. For people who wear their heart on a sleeve, it's like
I
there's no,
react.
there's no filter, but they just come out and say it. And I said, we want to hold our power and we want to be able to respond, not react.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we react, we have no control about what we're doing or saying or how the other person's going to see it. We've given up our power.
I've
And
talked
when
about this with Rose,
yeah,
where we've talked about this, you and I too, before, how our feelings are valid, but how we respond to things is on us. Our the actions that we presume are, if you're so hurt and you're so broken, that those feelings are so valid, and um, but if we lash out and we say things we regret, or like I tend to notice, like we hold, when we get hurt, I will then set a boundary, like you said, that is not realistic. How, like, you did this to me, like I'm done with you, don't talk to me, like, like we react in a certain way. And so I've learned to just be, if I find myself getting very emotional, um, I will just walk away, and I will be the bad guy. And it might not be the best coping mechanism, to just walk away, but from my past experiences, it's been better than an explosive fight or an argument.
yeah, you're
Um,
not a yeller. You're not a screamer.
I don't yet.
You're not that kind of person. And you're the kind of person you're much more avoidant. You'd rather avoid an argument and a fight, and which is always also not extremely healthy, but to preserve, your sanctity, safety, your
So,
physical,
so
mental well-being.
question for you, Mom, because I think a lot of us would benefit from this, including myself. Like, what advice would you have for someone that struggles with handling their emotions, being hot headed, temperamental, having a temper, someone that just has no filter, per se. What advice would you give to them? And if they're in the heat of a moment, they find out something bad, like what would you say to them? Like how would you help them?
Well, the first thing I would tell you is that anger is never a primary emotion. It's always
Mm.
secondary. You need to know what came first.
Anger is never
Okay.
a primary emotion. Damn.
Never. It's never, never. Any psychologist, you can read any book, you can look at, ask any therapist. Anger is never a primary emotion. So you have to ask yourself what came first. Was it fear? Was it sadness? Was it jealousy? Was it pain? What came first that led you to the anger? And that's where you have to focus because we want to get to the root of things. People are always, I'm not interested in helping people figure out what they're fighting about. I'm interested in helping people figure out what they're fighting for.
Ooh.
Okay. It's very, very different. It's
That's
not the dishes, it's not the cleaning, it's not the money. What are you fighting for? It's maybe it's validation. Maybe like, like Sugar says here, they're saying that, they just want to be heard, they want to get their feelings heard. Maybe you just want to be heard. So that's the first thing is what is the feeling that's coming before your anger and your explosion? That's where you got to figure out, you got to get to that. The second thing I would say is learn how to walk away and regulate the most powerful humans in the world. I've learned emotional regulation. I'm telling you, without drugs, without drinking, without scrolling, without pornography, without any of those self-soothing things, they've learned how to pray, meditate, take a walk, get to a gym. I don't know what you got to do, go hug a tree.
go hug a tree.
I'm not joking. Like
Hey,
there's like negative ions in trees. Hug it, get that energy, whatever
I
you got
wanna
to do.
say this really quick. Like, we talk about finding energy through natural things, and like, um, I saw this thing where it's people say like to ground yourself, and there's a couple ways to ground yourself is to literally touch a tree, to walk barefoot.
Really.
Another thing was actually like hugging an animal. Um,
Or a person can ground you.
hmm And so
Physical touch.
if you just drive by my house and you see me hugging a tree, don't laugh at me. I'm just playing.
I wanted to share something else that's going to really, if you're listening to this, just this is a simple concept, but this is life changing. It's going to change your life.
Pay attention.
Validating your feelings, someone's feelings is not does not mean you agree with them. Okay? If you are with somebody and they're like, "Ah," you can literally come back and say, "Can I just repeat what I heard you say?" And you can repeat it back, don't with no extra comments, no sarcasm, no criticism, just say, "I heard you say this. Do I have that right?" That's validation. It doesn't mean that you agree with them. You could literally be like, I don't agree with you, but let me hear what you're saying. That, I'm telling you, 70% of the time that will diffuse an argument that a couple, if you're having with somebody, if you could just say that to your partner, even if you're saying, look, next time we're in a fight and I'm like trying to get my feelings out, can you just repeat back that you heard me and just repeat back what you heard? Even if you don't agree with me, even if it's like, that's BS, and
And
just see how you feel.
I have also found this too. Validating people's feelings. Here's a in what people say like I've on this journey I've done so many different things that's outside of this box that's so different, and I have dealt with an immense amount of people hating on me, an immense
Yeah.
amount of people trolling me in the comments, calling me goofy, calling me like wannabe motivational. What the f is this short film? It's so cringe. And what I've realized this is welcoming them with love, treating them with love, but it's also it, this works, guys. I'm telling you, if someone is dogging in like real life, real person, um, repeat what they say or ask them. Say, one moment, can you repeat what you just said to me?
Or
Are you saying that?
is that what you just said? Just
And
repeat back what you heard them say.
I'm telling you,
That's powerful.
it literally like it throws them off that power trip real fast.
It diffuses everything. It's like, what? Wait, what? Then they actually
And
feel heard, and then you take their power away, and then you start to diffuse the situation. It's
then what
incredible.
I've also noticed too is if it escalates, like, and not for like the comments, but like for like real life scenarios, if they repeat it back to you word by word, I will ask them, "What's your intentions by saying that?" Oh my gosh, they are just like, call them out without calling them out. What's your
Yeah.
intentions by calling me this? What's your intentions by hating on me right now? Like, is this supposed to like hurt me? Is it supposed to make you feel like, what's the purpose of this? So validating validating people's feelings goes a long way, if it's regardless of the situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, obviously, I'm on social media. I don't have as many followers as you. I'm not an influencer, but in the work I do, I've been interviewed on national TV, podcasts, and I've been asked questions that have been outside my boundaries. And I had to learn really fast on how to shut those people down live on
Mm-hmm.
TV. Most recently I was interviewed, it was an international interview, and they asked me about the death of Hayden, your brother. And I was so taken off guard because it was like all about marriages and relationships. And then the interview at the end closes off the interview with a question about his death. And it was like, oh, you just crossed a boundary. I'm like, that I'm not prepared for that. And so, like it was really difficult because, in some ways I was like, that's really disrespectful to do that to a mother who's lost a child just recently, and to just throw that in a live interview internationally and without even saying something ahead of time. So sometimes we have to know our boundaries ahead of time when we're walking into a situation. And I think with your social media, the vibe is definitely very clear. And I think one of the things I love about the community so much that you've created is that everyone's there to protect and support. I see you got keyboard warriors.
The people that we have here, it's so, it's truly beautiful, and I'm so grateful, and I want to just take a moment and say thank you guys.